Hey guys, welcome back to the Whole Halo podcast. We're here today to just do a quick wrap up on our thoughts of testing. At the end of this, we'll know about as much as everyone else, and no one will know anything until FP1 in Australia. So, I'm going to hand you over to Lauren because she knows what she's talking about.
Asterix, kinda. What I'm gonna do is go top to bottom who I think is looking the best and strongest coming out of testing. It's probably gonna be the exact same as everyone else's list on the internet because we all watch the same 3 days of testing, but we're gonna give our reasons why we think so. So I'm gonna hop straight in with the obvious answer. In first place is McLaren, but I don't think they're as strong as everyone thinks they are. So what I found, especially on the last day, firstly, Bahrain just wasn't Bahrain weather for the first 2 days. Rain, crazy. What was going on? Have no idea. It only rains like 27 days of the year in Bahrain, and 2 of them happened to be F1 testing days, which was just kind of crazy. And it was very, very cold. Like, I don't know if anyone else saw Lawrence Beretto's, I think it was. Massive puffer. It was like a big pink puffer jacket, and I was like, bro's crazy, but apparently it wasn't. It was probably really, really cold. So when the temperature and more importantly the wind started to pick up on the last day, the rear of that McLaren looked so unstable at higher speeds, and Andrea Stella even did say that they are not happy with the rear end stability of the car quite yet. So everyone's saying they're bulletproof they're everything that. There does seem to be a weakness in the car in higher temperature and higher winds. So, just want to say, they are not as bulletproof as they may seem. No team ever is.
Fair. Because also looking at the interviews and stuff I've seen, they have decided to play it safe. They're just building off of last year's car. There's no massive innovations. It's last year's car, but they're, as I think Nara said, we're not trying to go quicker in one area. We're trying to go a little quicker in every area. So, it's the best they've started a season, or look to be starting a season since God knows how long. But on the other hand, maybe they haven't been brave enough to keep going. Maybe they played it a bit safe, because they look good now, but if all they're trying to do is save little bits of time in lots of places, they might start falling behind their competitors sooner rather than later, especially if in, Spain, they lose their mini DRS, where the back wing goes whoop.
They're losing their front wing moving. That's down from 15 millimeters to 10 millimeters. They have lost their mini DRS though.
Oh, they've lost that already. Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. I mean, have they really lost it though? Because that's such a hard one to judge.
They have a very intricate. They have a very intricate designed rear wing. It's a very odd way they've done it at the end. So we'll see how the FAA feel.
It makes it harder to see, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be like if they lose that, other competitors aren't using that, so they're going to lose an advantage there straight away. So that's why McLaren look great. I think they look great long pace and race pace. I didn't think they looked particularly impressive one lap pace in comparison to who I think will be their main rivals, Ferrari. I think Ferrari looked, and even the Red Bull looked quite impressive over one lap pace, whereas the McLaren, now maybe they just weren't showing enough, maybe they were just kind of keeping that under wraps, maybe they just wanted to do long pace running, but it just seemed to me that over one lap, I don't think they'll be, if they're qualifying tomorrow, I don't think they'd be qualifying Q1, but they would have a good chance of winning the race.
That's very fair. There was 2 notable attempts of a fast run from Norris that I want to bring up. One where he went quite wide at the very last corner and bailed into the pits. It was looking like a very impressive lap. But another where, I think it was turn 4, he almost binned it into the outside wall. It was the closest anyone came to the wall all weekend. And that's what I'm saying. The high speed corners, that rear end just kicking out so badly that the 2 attempts I saw of him do a flying lap, one he nearly got to the end and it was looking on, but if you don't finish the lap, that makes no difference. But I will just say they have a new aero thing and it's packaged more further to the back, so maybe they've weighted the back too heavy
and stepping out in the driver.
Yeah, it's carrying too much momentum on a turn. So even
and to be fair, Bahrain as well doesn't have many high speed corners.
Yeah, it's not it wouldn't be the most aggressive definitely on the calendar.
So if it's showing it here, it might be showing it even more, let's say, on on tracks with more high speed corners, like Monza or something, like whatever, wherever they'd have a lot of high speed corners. So yeah, I think that's McLaren kind of done. Look great, but it's only testing, so we don't know. Right, do you want to move on to next to Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull? Which way you going?
I think Mercedes look second strongest coming out. Again, another caveat. What type of temperature do Mercedes love? The cold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, this isn't necessarily where we think they'll end up in the rankings, but coming out of Bahrain, Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken, had the most laps, which is obviously the biggest indicator of anything coming out of testing is reliability. They seemed to have the least amount of time from what I could see spent in the garage with the I call them the black shades up. That's not what they're called. The floor having to come off is the only reason they're allowed to cover the garages. They seem to have the least amount of time with that. I had one note of it happening with Kimi, but that could have been like genuine regular maintenance. Whereas a lot of the other teams they had those up a good bit. Obviously they had the fastest lap at Russell on the last day. Wasn't the fastest lap of testing overall. I said it. It's obviously not anything to take from it, but it's not a bad thing either. Like, they're looking quick.
Yeah.
It was a good, strong lap. The car looked very, very stable under Russell. Kimi had a few offs, but that's good, obviously. He is pushing the car to the limits, trying to learn. I will just say, note for him, which I think I will discuss more in our championship rankings, he was murdering tyres. Just absolutely chewing through them. Which, again, might be a downside because Mercedes like the cooler races. If you're murdering tyres in hotter races, already doing poorly, you're not going to get very far. But yeah, I would say there was very, few things to take from the Mercedes. They have changed their suspension a little bit, which could probably help. They have, basically, long story short, usually 3 bars at the front for the suspension. They've managed to get it down to 2, which I'm making it sound very easy. Insanely hard to do. Fair play to them. Don't know how that'll hold up, but basically means less places for the air to be disrupted. So maybe the car is going to be a lot more stable, but I don't think stability was really any of their problems last year. It was speed. Like the car, actually no, it was.
Would that help with the operating window? Because I think that was their biggest issue.
It could. I am a smart enough person to say how, but it could. I actually was saying, sorry, the car was crazy unstable with that new upgrade. I forgot Hamilton and Russell binned it 5 times in 3 races in Mexico, Brazil. Yeah. Russell had to go back to the old spec car. Hamilton binned it on the 3rd lap of Coda. So the car actually was pretty unbalanced near the end. So maybe they're trying to work on keeping their upgrades because they obviously put a lot of time into them, but getting them to work properly.
No, fair. Maybe that's what it's for. I don't know. It's just so hard to know where Mercedes are because of the weather. And it's that simple. If it'd been normal Bahrain hot weather and they looked like this, I'd be wildly impressed. We'd be like, yeah, they're looking very strong, very reliable. But it was the weather we know they can perform in. And that's not going to be a very good indicator moving forwards because a lot more of the races tend to be warmer than it would be in Bahrain, tend to be more dry, warm weather. So they look good, but the weather suited them. Now, I don't know if the weather suited this car in general or if it's just like last year or the year before where in colder conditions they were performing exceptionally well.
Yeah, that'd be my main takeaways. They look strong, but it was their optimum window for their last year's car. So unless they've unlocked anything crazy where this is just how they are, it's still yet to be seen.
Yeah, fair. Okay, moving on then to Ferrari.
Yeah, for Huawei.
For Huawei.
They have new suspension, copying the Red Bull and McLaren. Why would you not? I feel like they've changed suspensions about 8 times in this rank, though. I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, well, so far as I know, what they've said is the push and pull, they're the exact same, except the pull rod gives a wider aero window or something like that. So they didn't really want to change it last year because it didn't make any mechanical sense to change, but when it comes to the last year regulations, you need to look for any advantage whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's obviously going to be aero package dependent. So if it suits what they've done with the car this year, I know they've said they've basically redesigned the whole car. So if it suits it better, it's usually just a what suits our package the best type of thing. So
Fair.
they did look quite understeery, I'd say, on single lap pace. So although they were quite fast, it seemed like a bit of a wrestle. It didn't seem like the most comfortable laps. Now,
No, Russell races for Mercedes.
that's so funny. You're so funny. I was like, what did I say? Ha 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 ha. Now you've thrown me off. What I was going to say is the McLaren looked quite oversteery.
Understeered.
No, oversteery. The McLaren looked oversteery with the back end having a wiggle. But the Ferrari looked understeery, which I think an understeery car is a little bit better for if it's going to be in the fast lap, because it just means you gotta work harder. Not that you're going to lose the lap by going off, but they seem to have a lot of reliability issues on the last day. Not noticeable, but they didn't do a lot of laps.
Yes. No, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. They had to cut Hamilton's time down completely because they noticed, in their words, an anomaly.
God, I love the Italians.
But yeah, it's an anomaly. It's okay though. But yeah, so apparently there was an anomaly. But a little anomaly to me doesn't mean you lose the rest of your day.
Yeah, it did occur quite late in the session, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, we never got to see Hamilton's full race run plan. That was what it is. So we got to see his quali runs, short runs, but never the full race one. That's what got cut short. Now, I think of all teams, with all drivers, kind of a blessing in disguise, Lewis is known for his race pace more than his quali pace.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If they're going to count their blessings, you do it in that. But yeah, so Ferrari went in at... Oh my goodness. I don't even know when I put it. Anyway, Ferrari went in with about, I think, 20 or 30 minutes left of the session. Screens up, never came back out.
Okay.
So it looked bad because everyone was out on track at the end. Obviously, it is bad because you want to be on track. But they didn't do a lot of laps with Charles in the morning either. So I don't know if they were going for lap in, take the data, really, really refine instead of lap. So...
Okay.
I'd say they look strong. It's kind of like how Ferrari always looks, where you're like, they look great, and then they're 11th, and you're like, oh, they're going to have a bad weekend, and they come 1-2 a minute ahead of the field. Ferrari.
Fair enough. I thought, from the bits I saw and looking at the lap times, I thought they looked like the fastest car for one lap. Now, they do have probably two, definitely Leclerc is probably the best qualifier on the grid, and then Hamilton's a very good driver. There's no denying that. So maybe that helped, or other teams maybe were sandbagging a bit more than the Ferrari was. I'm not sure, but to me they looked like they had the fastest car, except for Williams. Anyway, yeah. So for me, it looked like they might be qualifying very high up, but as you said, reliability and race pace didn't look nearly as good.
So there is something to mention about quali times, lap times, stuff like that, and I'll go back to the teams you've already covered. But on day 2, we saw an anomaly where I think it was 7 of the teams had drivers within under half a second of each other with each other's fastest lap, and they're all next to each other in the order. It's very pretty. You can throw in a picture. It actually looked beautiful. But what I will say is the Ferraris were 0.052 seconds apart with Hamilton ahead. The Mercedes were 0.006 ahead. So we can see Kimi's got the speed, which is great. And then the McLarens were 0.061. Now these were the McLarens, I think, if I'm not mistaken, were 14 and 15. They were doing their long run pace, but just very notable, very cool to note that they seem to be all very close, which is what we want. But yeah, the Ferraris, which I will say, the Ferraris and the Mercedes, their fast pace being that close together is very exciting.
Yeah, shows that both drivers at least are getting the most out of the car.
Fingers crossed, that's what we want.
Well, hopefully. Yeah, I've not really much more to add on Ferrari. I don't know. The car looked nice on track, I thought. I thought the red looked
I
nice.
think-
I don't mind the big blue logo on the side.
So it's not-
I think it's kind of cool.
It's not your granny drinking red wine red anymore. No, now Glory
Not
Hunter.
anymore. No. It looked nice on the road.
I had
What could I say?
I knew it. I could see it.
You could sense it. Yeah, no, I know. I just thought when I first saw it, it didn't look great. But I've seen it on track now, and I take it back. I'll admit that I was wrong. As per usual, the Ferrari looks pretty good. I still put it in my top 3.
Yeah. I still see people hating on it, and I'm like, wow.
It's the big blue thing on the side people don't like, but I think it looks grand. I think it could have been done better, but I thought it looked okay.
I think every single car probably could have been done better. Like, it's just, I think, so not important, but this is the first time I got to see the cars on track, so it is. I think this stupid the stupid reg car look is just really hard to design a nice livery for. They're so weird. They look like little squished toads. They're just fat and like weirdly pulled. Like, they're not a nice shaped car to put a nice livery on.
Racing Bulls. I think they did a very good job.
I think that they did a really good job, but like, I don't think it's inherently easy to do.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. Maybe they spend a bit too much time on their livery, but we'll come back to that. All right, on to Red Bull. What are you thinking?
Red Bull, new nose. Oh my god, she went to Turkey. Sorry. Red Bull have gone back to a very similar design as their 2022 nose, which is basically the little winglets. There's 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now the bottom one doesn't connect to the nose, it connects to the one above it. Mercedes had this at one stage, I remember, and there was big hoopla about it, and I think McLaren ran one nose that had something similar, but Red Bull went to the last day to pull this out for Max to test. Lawson never got to test it.
Okay.
So they're obviously cooking something. They had very few laps. Again, I think if I'm not mistaken, it might be the least of all teams. They were in the trenches on day 2. Like, they were actually just, it was a nightmare. My biggest takeaway, and I have it written very eloquently, I said, car rotates beautifully in slow speed corners, but reliability remains a question mark. So, likely fast, reliability could be,
Yeah, fair. Like, as you said, fewest laps. So it's hard to know much more than that. Like, I think they did 140 less laps than Mercedes.
Yeah, I think Mercedes had the most of any team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And Red Bull were the least, and they did 140 less. Like, I think they did, like, and even if they did 300, they did 50% fewer laps than Mercedes. Like, that is massive. Like, 150 laps is 2 Grand Prix worth of laps nearly, or more than 2 Grand Prix worth of laps, nearly 3.
Yeah, it was 458 versus 304. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, that's a huge amount of, like, testing they've missed out on.
And a lot of it with Liam.
Like, I'll give it to them. Yeah, a lot of it with Liam as well, which is particularly bad, because I'll give it to them. When Verstappen got in the car the last day, they looked good. They did look good. They looked pretty solid. I think they got a lot of running done on the 3rd day. No? Not a lot of running done on the 3rd day?
132, then 91, then 81.
Oh, so the least amount of running on the 3rd day. So Verstappen put a P2 on the 3rd day, I think, just behind Russell. So, I mean, look, you could put him in the Sauber and he'd make it look good. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see on reliability. But again, like, they still did 300 laps and managed to get the car back to the pits every time. So it's not like red flag reliability worthiness, if it even is that bad. The red flags we did get were interesting, but we'll move on to them later on. All right, on to any other points on Red Bull?
No, I think Lawson looks great in it. Big takeaway.
Okay.
I think he looked settled. Lawson, I'll give him his due, has moved between a lot of series. He's just bounced around the place. And look, he almost won was it the DTM? Is that the name of it? The Japanese, it's like a Japanese formula. Super formula, not DTM. He nearly won that as a rookie, came down to the last race, would have been the first rookie to ever do it. So it hasn't been done, but came down to the last race. So he can hop between different cars. So I'm very excited to see him and how he gets on in it, but he looked good.
Yeah, well, look, hopefully he, if not putting up a fight to Max, I don't think he's allowed to, at least he can back Max up. And, you know, at least Max can have a rear gunner, like a Perez 21 situation, someone that can actually help him out. Because fair play to him. He's won the last couple of Drivers' Championships in a very, very good car, but by himself. So, like, that is impressive, and it could be nice, especially with all the cars converging. If Red Bull, maybe, like, because they won't have as dominant a car, if they have 2 cars in it, it'll just make the season that much better.
It'd literally be the case of if they're second and third and someone in first pits, they have Liam there to cover off Max. Like, it's so important, especially, as you said, this season, the last of the regs, everyone, I think the top 4 they said could be between, like, just like 5/10 splitting them, like the 8 drivers. So, like,
is that race pace or quali?
Quali.
Race pace, probably.
Race, yeah.
No,
quali would be way closer.
Quali would lower, yeah, hopefully.
They're all. It's going to be
possibly,
like 2020, and it's going to be like 1.8 second gaps, and you're like, what happened?
Oh god, that was when the tires were decent, to be fair, or not so good, but in the best way possible. All right, moving on to Alpine. I see that you have them down here in 5th, which I disagree with, but go on.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Go on. No, you've stuck your colours to the mast now. You're an Alpine fan. You hate Williams. Go on.
I actually nearly bought an Alpine hat in TK Maxx today, but it was an Esteban Ocon one, so I didn't. Because he doesn't drive for them. He doesn't drive for them. And Flavio's line scared me in the GTS trailer. He terrifies me, that man. I own every millimetre of you. What an odd thing to say. Anywho, did you not?
I've got to watch this GTS trailer.
I texted you and I said it gave me literal chills. Literal chills. Anyway, why did I put Alpine 5th? Oh yeah, I think I was just more shocked at the Alpine than the Williams.
Okay.
I think I just, like, I know Alpine had that run at the end, but also they actually painted their car and I thought they'd be really slow because they painted their car. If we all remember Alpine last year, the first race, like, they were tied for McLaren with having just a mare. But I think it was, my first note is that they looked stronger than they expected. Like, I knew they'd be better than how they were last year, but, like, I was kind of shocked at just, like, how well they were doing. I was also shocked at how close Doohan was to Gasly, which was another big thing.
Yeah, he looked good.
He did. He looked great. I think Doohan is a fine midfield driver from his previous drives. I don't think he's the next Ayrton Senna, but, like, he's a good driver. So I'm glad that he is getting to grips with the car and doing that. But yeah, I think a cheeky little podium at some stage this year for that car.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me. They managed a podium last year in Brazil. Oh, well, 2 podiums, actually, technically. Which was, I know it was a crazy race, but that was when the car started getting good. Yeah, as you say, cheeky podium, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were the only midfield team to get a cheeky podium as well. I'd say there's a chance for some other teams that we will get onto very quickly. Hopefully. I'm living off day 2, but yeah, I know it looked good and it was still painted. What more could you ask for?
In my livery rankings, I was like, I'm the least confident to see this car look painted come Bahrain even, so I just want them to stay good so they keep the car painted. Like,
yeah. Have any team really stripped it down?
Not this year yet.
Not this year. I know the Sauber doesn't look quite as good as it did in 75 because it's not blended, it's just like straight black and then onto the green, whereas it was faded in the 75.
Not at the event.
I don't think that's a weight.
At their renders, they absolutely face-tuned to the gods their render. Someone was in with that smudge. Someone was in with a little smooth tool in their render software. I'm like, ooh.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's good to see that, like, to me anyway, that means that all the teams are underweight.
They've raised the weight this year, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
I think they raised the minimum weight.
Did they?
I think. Editor, Niall, put it in.
Yes, I will. I will look this up and put this in. Okay, sweet. Yeah, okay. That's all I can say about Alpine. It's pink and it's blue and it goes zoom. Okay, like I don't know. That's it. On to Williams.
Imagine I was like, no, Williams isn't yet. Of course it's Williams. Arguably should have been above Williams. Alpine.
Possibly. I would just like to say this is like McLaren actually, the best start they've had to a year in a long time. They were the first out the blocks with showing their car and the renders and stuff. And the car looks good. It's painted. The Duracell logo still looks great. I haven't really talked about the speed yet, but that's fine. The car must be underweight. It's the first year they've had like loads of money, so they've increased the amount of people working at the factory up to like 900 or something. They're a fully fledged team again, and I'm really excited about it. I don't think anyone would like look at me now and be like, "Oh, I'm not excited to see Williams do well." I think everyone wants Williams to do well.
Yeah, they're a heritage team. Like, it's one of those things I always see. It's like, yeah, I'd love my favourite driver to win, but I'd probably prefer, like, a Williams to win. Like, it's just for the good of the sport. It's for the sport.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, it's just so nice to see them come out with a car that's probably underweight, which, they can add weight to it to make it overweight. It looks pretty fast. Now, their best lap still wasn't as good as Verstappen's Q3 lap last year, so I'm not saying they're going to come out and be qualifying top of the podium thing, but I think themselves and Alpine have a really good battle brewing for that 9th and 10th spot in Q3.
I thought you were going to say 9th and 10th in the championship. I was like, what?
No. 9th, 10th in Q3, and then once you're in Q3, who knows?
Exactly.
Like, you just don't know what can happen then. The longer you're in qualifying, the better chance you have of a front field team making the mistakes that gets you up another place or two. Will you keep them in the race? Maybe not, but it's just exciting that they're actually in with a chance.
Okay, well, Buxton, the longer you stay in qualifying, the better it is.
What it is. It makes sense. Like, the longer you're in it, but like, it's not just the longer you're in it. It's the longer you're in it, the better chance other people have of making mistakes.
Sorry, I love Will Buxton. I'm very sad to lose him. I do love IndyCar personally as well, though, so it's not really a loss for me.
Fair.
But
yeah.
I will say one thing to note about Williams: rear wing end plate change. Looks like the Red Bull. So, just to put that out there, it's a very Red Bull-esque rear wing end plate.
So they have Red Bull rear wing. Red Bull were good in the high speed and the straights. They've the Mercedes engine. It's a good engine. Gives me a lot of confidence. But now, their race pace, wait and see what it looks like. But it looked okay in testing, and they looked like they can qualify pretty quickly. They're like nearly a second quicker than they were last year. So, gives me confidence that they can get or make at least a good competition to get into Q3 with the Alpine. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, but fingers crossed it's looking good for that like really tight midfield battle.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm like, the more competition we have, the better. Because it's like last year, obviously, there was just Aston in 5th on its own, and it was like, didn't really make a difference to anything. And it's like, it's nice to have nice to have a few teams around the same pace, even if they're not all together. It's nice to have like different chunks that are battling out for something to look out on track at.
Yeah, now, to be fair, hopefully we won't need to like care about it that much this year, like who's coming 5th, because we should be very excited about who's going to come 1st, 2nd kind of thing. But, it's always good to see Williams doing well. As I said, heritage team, everyone loves Williams, everyone wants them to do well. If you disagree down in the comments, I'll block you. Anyway, moving on to Aston Martin.
Yeah, I put them 7th, but I don't think I should have. They looked horrendous. They had just horrible time. First of all, Lance, I hope you feel better. That's so unideal midway through a session. Lance is so tall and Fernando is so not tall. To have to swap that car around mid-session. They actually got away with not the fewest laps of the day, which I don't even know how. Red Bull was on some wild stuff, but that's just not ever what you want to see happening during a test.
No, sure, Lance, God bless him, just cannot start a season.
No, break a hand.
Break a hand, get sick. Just start of seasons do not seem to suit him very well. But we'll have to hope. I'm sure he'll be fine by Australia. That's in a couple of weeks, so plenty of time to get better. And yeah, I don't know. They didn't look great.
No,
essentially.
They do have some changes to their cooling slots, but like nothing even like big to like noticeable. Obviously, we all know there's the Adrian Newey of it all. Are they even trying? What are they doing? I think he starts in 2 weeks.
Nope, started today, 1st of March.
Was it?
Yeah, 1st of March. I could be wrong, but I heard that. So
Editor.
day after testing. This guy. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see if they even care. Like, to me, it just doesn't seem like they care. They're there because they have to be there, kind of thing. Everything's going towards 26 car. Now, maybe Newey will come in, look at the data, and be like, okay, here's 10 things you guys can work on for this year. I'm off. I'll be designing your 26 car. And then that's it.
Yeah, because like if we look at Aston, there's one thing they don't need, which is more prize money. And there's one thing they would love, which is more wind time tunnel. Wind time tunnel.
Wind time tunnel. WTT. That's actually fair. Like, come last.
Like, why not?
120% or whatever wind time tunnel. Wind time tunnel. And just go at it for 26 with the Honda powered unit, the aging new design car. They have plenty of money. They just want trophies.
Yeah. So I would say coming out of it, definitely behind Alpine and Williams, and perhaps behind what I have down as the next team, which is Haas.
Did they do any glory running, or
they put in,
because like their times don't look great?
One quick lap, I think, which brought them to like 8th or 9th, like not even like a fast lap, but just like here's a lap. So what my thinking was, ruminating in my head, what was Haas good at last year? Qualifying. What were they bad at? Race pace. What would you practice in testing? Race pace. They did this last year as well. They only really focused on, like, if I'm remembering correctly from last year, they did not care about, like, they were in their own little run plan. Love a team that sticks to their own run plan. They were very happy to just lap after lap. I think Esteban on the last day did like 108. Like, it was something insane.
Surprised he had enough car left.
Yeah, so big thing to note. What is happening? So I presume we've all seen that poor Ollie Behrman's car tried to make a bid for freedom. Scary enough, not the first time this has happened to their car. A private test at Silverstone last week, the right side did the exact same thing. Now, Haas loves this flag, but I don't think they want to see it coming. If that was to happen during a race, that is an instant meatball or black and orange flag, which means instant retirement, or you'll be disqualified and maybe reprimanded if you don't acknowledge that. So, not ideal.
From what I've heard, Iwatsu, essentially what he said was, we're just trying to shave some time, shave some weight. So maybe they just use thinner rivets or whatever, and they're going to have to sacrifice the couple 100 grams and use proper rivets or whatever is used to hold on F1 car parts, and just bulk it up, essentially. Maybe scrape some of their paint off if they have to keep the weight, or, you know, if their car is underweight, take the lead out of the car wherever they have it, so they lose a bit of ballast, but their car stays together. And I think it's more important to have a car stay together than a car that has the perfect weight distribution that you want. So I don't think it's a big issue if they rivet their car together properly and sacrifice a bit of ballast or a bit of paint or a bit of speed. Now, a bit of speed is probably the last thing they'll sacrifice, so they'll probably take some paint off the car and sacrifice a bit of ballast.
Sorry, I thought you were making a joke, being like, we want to shed some weight.
No, Haas aren't me. But what I will say, actually, in regards to Haas and not going for glory runs, and they didn't do it last year either, they used to just have to do it to get a big sponsor in at the start of the year. They needed to come out of the blocks firing and be like, oh no, we've got a great car, give us money. Now I don't think it's as important. I still think they need money. They don't, like Gene, I think, is being a bit looser stringed with his money, which is great, but I still think they do need money. But I think they're going to do better just instead of doing the glory runs at the start and getting a sponsor in, just stick to what you have, get a good car going, and let the sponsors come to you instead of chasing them, essentially.
Yeah, I have to agree. Firstly, I think every year, when the CAS Cop was first introduced, they said it was going to be coming down slightly, so it could be lower again, maybe, I think. And
yeah, possibly.
Also, we love a Nepo baby. Ollie Behrman is not from a poor family with not a lot of backing. I presume Ferrari have given them something for taking Ollie, one of their little driver academy kids. They did okay in the championship relative to being 10th, I'm pretty sure, the year before. Bit more money.
Yeah, they came 7th.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that like if they can get their long run pace down and just the same with Alpine, the same with Williams, be in the mix for if something happens with one of the big teams, like that's what they need because like qualifying was never their issue. Like it hasn't been. They obviously had the speed of the Ferrari engine behind them, but they just were not. They had the best and worst of the Ferrari, which was speed and eating through tires.
What could be interesting to note this season is they are only taking the 23 parts from the Ferrari because of the push-rod suspension.
Oh.
So that could be something. They might not be able to develop as quickly because they might not be able to take as much front of the car as they were able to last year. They're going to have to do a lot of that in-house, but should be okay. They've got a lot more and a lot better wind tunnel usage now with their partnership with Toyota. So should be okay to develop on their own, and it's good practice for them moving forward. Because like to me it seems they're moving away from Ferrari and towards Toyota, because I think Toyota kind of want to slowly blend back into the sport. So they're giving their like Haas are giving them data, Toyota are letting them use their wind tunnel. It's like a pretty good relationship. Wouldn't surprise me if Toyota maybe in 28 we're like, yeah, we'll give you power units moving forward. We'll be like proper partners. It'll be like Haas Toyota Racing or something like that. Haas Toyota MoneyGram.
What's it called? Rich Energy.
Whatever. Rich Energy. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me if that was something that they're looking towards. So maybe they were like, look, we'll stick with what we know when the Ferrari works and what we know we can deal with, and then we'll also get a bit of practice developing some parts by ourselves, seeing how it works, using the wind tunnels, slowly moving towards that relationship with Toyota. Because at the end of the day, Gene wants money, and being a works team is more likely to be better in that regard if you're a good works team.
Yeah, you get like those engines don't come cheap. Like I know it's obviously more expensive to start developing your own engine, but once you have the engine, it's better to have developed it yourself. And if Toyota is really good, they could sell it. Yeah, and you get to build your own car. Like you can like choose the size of it. Like
yeah, and you get the best engines.
Yeah, like you're obviously going to take your best.
I know they say all the engines are the same. They're not. They test them all, and Mercedes keep the best engines for Mercedes. Ferrari keep the best engines for Ferrari. They're the only two that sell engines, but
Renault kept all the bad engines for everyone because they were bad engines.
Yeah. I'm sure if Honda were selling to more teams, they'd keep the best engines if there was a Honda team, that kind of thing, So it makes more sense in my mind if that's the direction they're aiming for. But what do I know?
What does anyone know?
Fair enough. Speaking of things people don't know, onto Toro Rosso. No, not Toro Rosso.
AlphaTauri?
AlphaTauri. App Orbi Visa Cash.
Tap here, please pay us money.com racing. Like, I don't know. You know what? Still not the worst something money-related like name, which we will get onto still.
True. But what a beautiful car. Beautiful car. The Visa Cash App Racing Bull. Stunning. Very pretty car. Probably spent too much time making it look good rather than making it fast, though.
I don't still think it's as pretty as the White Bull from 2021, but I still think...
Was that the Japan livery they were meant to use in Japan, but they used it somewhere else because of COVID?
The White Bull.
The White Bull.
Yeah.
Fair. But look, it's a nice homage to the old days, and I think it's cool. I think it's a really good livery.
Right. About the actual car, I have nothing to say. They are just a team. Like, they did their stuff. Hajar seemed to be pushing the limits of the car, seemed to be thereabouts. Car,
cool. Moving on. Sauber.
Struggling. Oh my goodness.
You know what? Sometimes it's best to not say anything with Visa Cash App. They're okay. Yeah, Sauber's struggling.
They low and medium speed corners, not doing them well, which, is kind of important.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, I'd say they were the team that showed their worst, performance and stability and the worst reliability, which, pick a struggle, guys. You're already sponsored by a horrible, horrible gambling, stupid streaming platform degenerate thing, and you're not good, be good. Be good, I don't know. I want them to be
Fair.
good. I just want them to be good.
Same. But, like, on the plus side, they're closer to the back of the field than they were last year. And hopefully they won't have 30-second pit stops.
Yeah, did you see their lineup, Ringy?
No.
On the tyre covers, they have, like, LEDs. Which is
Oh,
really
cool.
funny, because when there was a power outage, like, their tyres were lit up. And I was like, oh.
That's, yeah, fair enough. It's just all that, like, bloody casino crap. Just all the lights and fairy dust or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Likely at the back of the grid.
Yeah, hopefully not for
Sad.
the whole thing. Like, I'd like to see them battling with, like, V-carb and stuff like that.
Like, towards the end of the season, Zhou Guanyu did okay in it. Bottas did okay in it. Or IP. But,
Ferrari
yeah,
third driver. It's fine.
Of course. Oh, and Mercedes.
Yeah. They won't let him do a calendar. I
Oh.
don't care.
Oh yeah, that's that. Let them do a calendar.
It's for charity,
Yeah.
Toto. Get a grip.
It's a tax write-off, Toto.
Oh,
Get a
you're speaking
grip.
his language. You're speaking his language.
Nah, see, you gotta hit him with the tax
Now
write-off.
that they haven't got that Ineos money, it seems.
Valtteri, get your butt out. Wait, what?
Now that they haven't got that
yeah.
Ineos money.
Yeah. That's gone, eh?
I think, long story short, they didn't pay out a contract to, like, the All Blacks or something. Was it? No?
The rugby team.
I might think of a different sponsor. There's a struggle with one sponsor not playing the All Blacks. I know that.
Okay.
Ineos as well. I don't know, because they own a third of the team. So,
Right.
very strange. But I
fair
don't want to
enough.
get sued. So I'm not going to speculate too much. All alleged.
All alleged slander. Okay, sweet. Other than that, notes from testing in general. Bus on track, bad.
Glass on track. Bad.
Bad. Sauber,
Bad.
bad.
Our ability to rank these
that
properly.
bus on track was crazy though.
Bad.
Sorry?
Our ability to rank these properly. Bad. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
bad,
Bus was
yeah.
crazy, man.
Yeah, that was like, how do you accidentally drive onto a racetrack?
I can understand the glass, because, like, it's a glass box above it. Like, someone...
Yeah, pedal got kicked up.
Yeah.
It happens, I guess.
Bus? Power outage.
Bus,
Like, that's...
bad.
Like, I know they're like, oh, it was, like, citywide. Backup generator. You're a circuit. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand how their floodlights don't run on a circuit, or on a backup generator. Like, that's crazy.
Or, solar panelled, considering where they are.
A backup generator powered by solar panels. You got it.
There you go. I mean, like, that is a crazy
Honestly,
one,
I'm
yeah.
like, with the amount of, like, traction on those tracks, I'm sure they could store up enough energy from the cars on the track.
That'd be an interesting idea.
I love kinetic energy. It's wave
like,
power.
Yeah, something like that. Make races zero carbon.
I feel like we're getting into Formula E and we might get rinsed, so...
Fair. I mean, look, if you've made it this far, thank you. But what are you doing here? This ended 5 minutes ago.
We're just having a waffle at this stage. Anywho.
And yeah, that's pretty much it from testing. It was fun. It was like 3 8-hour podcasts, but I know very little, and I'm just even more excited than ever for Australia. The
Same.
Melbourne Grand Prix.
I'm so happy it's back in Australia. I keep nearly saying Bahrain, just out of, like, Pavlov.
Yeah. No, I'm agree. I think Australia should be the first race of the year. It's an unfortunate time in the day for us, but we get it so good the rest of the year. Can't complain too much.
And honestly, I don't mind knocking out the 3 really bad ones at the start. Like, they're kind of just gone. Like, we go Australia, Japan, and China, and then, like, we are blessed for times early after that, so...
Yeah, and then it's just, one race, Vegas or something maybe?
Vegas
That's
is
a bit
weird,
bad.
yeah. And also, it's going to be Paddy's weekend for us, so...
Yeah, St. Patrick's weekend. It's also big rugby day beforehand, so it's going to be a brilliant weekend of sport.
Exactly, and I cannot wait. So...
Cool. Alright, sweet. Thanks for making this far. Thanks for listening. Let us know if you have any thoughts on testing down in the comments below, and we will catch you in our rankings video. Peace.
Bye!